And now this is where the fun starts. We're getting towards the end of the first lap. Here comes all the Gene through. Senji all the way round, getting towards the end of the first lap. The second lap is the same. This is Paul Bonhomme in Cannes 2018.
Spectacular flying from the former world champion who joins myself, Nick Fellows, now in the commentary box. Earlier today, the world's best pilots contested the round of 14 knockout phase. Heats 3 and 6 providing the most exciting action of the day so far.
Pete McLeod flew first, and this was always going to be an interesting heat. He posted a really good time. Then Yoshi came out, and look at this, Yoshi just nailing the vertical turn. He went a wider line, but then caught up in the descent and overtook Pete and beat him by just 0.2 of a second. That was a fascinating heat. And then the big news, Kirby Chambliss in the chicane. He was going up and down, and as he went around the end of the track, he then went high in gate 4, thus handing the win to Martin Schonka. Devastating news for the Texan.
Pete McLeod qualifies as the fastest loser. These are the confirmed times. The fastest pilots from the round of 14 early today. And Goulian is at the top of the table, as he was 24 hours ago, winning the qualifying round to the weekend's action. Doldra and Maroya, McLeod fastest loser. But out of the competition, Kopstein, Ben Murphy, Levott, Kirby Chambliss, Bolton and Nicolas Ivanov. Jimmy DiMatteo is our race director with his team ready to make sure that we race under all the rules and regulations, as safety is the #1 priority for the Red Bull Air Race World Championship. Now, the weather was causing a few worries earlier today with the swirling wind in the Bay of Cannes, but the wind has calmed down. It's coming from an easterly direction, but the sunshine is just classic French Riviera weather, making for perfect flying conditions. So first up in the round of 8 will be Matt Hall against Pete McLeod in Heat 8, then Bragio Maroya, Velarde against Doldra of Germany, and Schonka will go up against the fastest man on the track today, Mikey Goulian, to wrap up this knockout phase. First, Australia go against Canada. Matt Hall is out on track.
Beautifully smooth through the chicane there. Matt's going to have to be really careful here. And good height through that gate 5. We've seen pilots go high there. Here comes the all-important vertical turn. The Australians got to absolutely nail this. A little bit of a correction for the wind. 10.5 peak G, so that's good. And there's that lovely manoeuvre where he allows the nose to drop to get to the right. Oh, look like climbing in that gate.
Matt Hall into the second lap. Remember, 16 air gates and 2 vertical turns to be taken in. Matt Hall just needs to beat Pete McLeod to advance to the final round of the day. Now the Aussie prepares for that last vertical turning manoeuvre. This is the make or break section of the track. He'll do that half Cuban turn out, and now from the tail cam we see Matt Hall go for the Hamilton finish gate 57. That is very good.
Number 95 Hall, 57.708 seconds. No penalties.
Thanks, Jimmy.
And that is a good performance from Matt Hall. You can see the emotion that the Australian shows from the cockpit cam. He knows that's really put the pressure on Pete McLeod.
And that was good from Matt Hall. That's 0.7 of a second faster than his time in the round of 14. So he'll be very pleased with that. And of course, you know, back to the psychology, that will put pressure on Pete McLeod, because Pete's in the hold. He'll have heard that time, and Pete will be saying to himself, 57.7. I did a 58.2 earlier. Pete's really going to have to go for this to beat Matt Hall.
And it's a simple calculation now for Pete McLeod. He just needs to fly faster than Hall's performance time there. And for Pete McLeod, it will need to be one of his fastest performances of the week.
Pete McLeod, Canada. For the round of 8, I need to duplicate my last run. It was fast, smooth, and one of the best times out there.
Well, Pete McLeod and Matt Hall, they're the best of buddies when they're away from the racetrack. But this is a really tough competition. McLeod's team of Charlotte Sandgaard, Pat Phillips and Mark Hindley there. Wait and watch patiently. They've done their part. It's now down to the pilot to perform, to try and take Canada
84
through.
McLeod, you're cleared into the track. Smoke on.
Race director Jimmy DiMatteo gives the all clear for McLeod. He will know that Matt Hall has posted a sub 58 second time here. Entry speed, beautiful. Just over 200 knots, but right on the mark.
Yeah, and there's Pete flying with the Ghost plane, and Matt Hall looks as though Pete's just slightly ahead here. This is very good flying, and it's smooth, very close to that gate 5, and a late correction in there in gate 6, but he's on track, isn't he?
Light is green. That tells us that Canada is ahead of Australia. Paul, these vertical turn maneuvers will be the make or break, but it's a lovely execution. Oh no, Hall is now ahead going into lap 2.
No, Pete made an interesting correction there. He did a beautiful vertical turning maneuver, but then he came out completely off heading and then had to turn right to get back to gate 9. That's cost him dearly.
And it's lost him so much time. I'm not sure even Pete McLeod, third in the world rankings last season, can make... Oh, it's a pylon hit. Pete McLeod, in his quest to try and make up time, has hit the pylon. 3 seconds of penalty. Pete McLeod's day is over.
84 McLeod, 1 minute 5.443 seconds. It includes 5 seconds in penalties, incorrect level gate number 4, and you have a pylon hit. Gate 15. Put you in second place in your heat.
So I think Pete spooked himself out on that first vertical turning maneuver. He pulled up, and it looked good to me. You know, the Ghost plane comparison showed he was on track, but then he went completely off heading, almost as if he was pointing in the wrong direction. Then when he saw the descent gate, then it was a big right turn to get back to that, and by then it was all over. I think it was a double whammy. Not only did the heading change lose him time, but also I think he lost time with a big pull. Too much G, that means more drag. Here goes the vertical turn. There, well, that's the pylon hit there as he hits that last but one gate, and that's not what Pete wanted at all. And he's got to take that performance to the next race in Chiba, Japan, and that is not what Pete McLeod was looking for here today.
Now, very disappointing for the Canadian number 1. Let's not forget he got a DNF in the opening round of the season in Abu Dhabi for an over-G. Now a pylon hit in the round of 8 for Pete McLeod. It's not the start to the season that he was hoping for, Paul.
No, not at all. No, that's a miserable start for the Canadian, but great news for Matt Hall.
Well, there's many sports celebrities here. Let's go down to the race airport and hear from one of the many. It is David Coulthard, the former Formula One racing driver.
Well, I've always been super impressed by how cool the pilots are, how skilled they are. And I think that this, for anyone who has a pilot's license, this is like the ultimate expression of competition and skill. What's really hit me here coming to Cannes is I went to New York before and I went to Abu Dhabi, but it's to see how much the air race has grown in its second incarnation. Many more pilots. It's really interesting to see the different technologies. Very obvious the differences in the wingtip technology that the different pilots have on board. But to have this opportunity to be behind the scenes, you know, I remember a little bit what it's like, the preparation before driving, but to see how relaxed they are, how professional they are is really impressive. So delighted to be here.
And we're delighted to have David Coulthard, a 13 times a Formula One winner and such an ambassador for the world of motorsport, really appreciating the development of the Red Bull Air Race. And David talked about our second incarnation there and how the sport has grown. And this is one of the big steps forwards for the Red Bull Air Race here in Cannes. But we're here to race. Let's get into the next heat. France go against Japan. The local hero, Mika Braggio, flies first.
Mika Braggio, France.
Round of 8, I won't let any single element disturb the tactics to get the best time through the finish gates.
Brajot has come with such a positive attitude to this home race. It's the first time that the air race has been contested in France, and Brajot, Paul, is determined to put the French pilots in the chase here.
Into the track. Smoke on.
He's already got through the round of 14. Now, can he go into the final 4? He's up against the world champion, Yoshi Miroya. He just needs to, well, strive for near perfection right now.
He beat Yoshi Miroya just by a margin in the qualifying yesterday, but he was half a second off the pace earlier. Mika has got to do exactly what he said in that video clip before he started. He's just got to ignore all of the distractions to get on with this. Let's watch this vertical turning maneuver. Oh, look at that 11.5 G. He's getting on with this. Very, very precise exit to that vertical turning maneuver. This is on track, I think.
This is under 31 seconds at the end of lap 1 into lap 2 through the chicane. We see him from the tail cap. This is looking good for Brajot.
And can you see those wings bend? The MXS that Mika Brajot is flying is the only MXS in this race series. Watch the wings bend now as he pulls up here. Those wings, look at that, much more flexibility than the Edge.
Now Brajot for France goes for the Hamilton finish gate here. He's looking for a 57 and he's just missed it. It's still solid.
Number 11, Brajot, 58.494 seconds. No penalties.
Not the fastest that the Frenchman has flown, but it is still penalty-free and potentially puts the pressure on Miroya, who he flies against.
We talk about consistency a lot, and that was a 1/10 of a second faster than his earlier time today. So excellent consistency from Mika Brajot, though. Mistake-free. We've already seen today that you don't progress if you make mistakes. He was clean there, smooth, and I think that's great. That's going to put pressure on Yoshi Miroya. The only snag that Mika has got is, of all the people here that can absorb that pressure, it is the Japanese pilot.
And it is the defending world champion, Yoshi Miroya from Japan, who flies next. Brajot pipped Miroya in qualifying. Can he do it again today in the round of 8?
Yoshi Miroya, Japan.
I'm trying to relax in round of 8 and let the plane go. Then I think it's go a bit faster than round of 14.
50% strike rate on the 2017 Red Bull Air Race World Championship.
You're cleared into the track. Smoke on.
What that means for Yoshi Miroya is that he won 4 out of the 8 races. Now, we're right down to the business end of this competition, and this is where Miroya needs to step it up just a little, particularly from his earlier times and performances. Let's look at the ghost plane of Brajot with Miroya just behind it in these crucial turns at the back end, the old port side of Kanbei.
We saw Yoshi's aeroplane earlier in the vertical turning maneuver get an overtake on Pete McLeod's ghost plane, and the same is going to happen here. Not only did Yoshi start that maneuver first, look, he's just pulling away slowly. That's a very good start from Yoshi Miroya as he finishes the first lap.
This is the confidence, these are the skills that you expect from a world champion, and Miroya now starts to draw further and further ahead of Brajot. And look at this now, over 7/10, the right side of the clock, and these vertical turn maneuvers from the Japanese pilot, well, they're right out of the race textbook, because Miroya goes through and goes through in style.
Number 31, Miroya, 57.374 seconds. No penalties. Congratulations, you're going to the Final 4.
And what a time in the competition to record your PB of the week so far here. That's the fastest Yoshi's flown all week, and that will do nothing but boost the confidence going into that Final 4 round.
As you said, Nick, textbook flying from Yoshi Miroya there. Beautifully swift and crisp, if you like, through the chicane. I wondered if he was a little high in gate 4 there. Look at that beautiful rhythm through the pull-up gate there. And what was nice there was it was a soft pull-up. He was judging the amount of G there, and he judged it beautifully.
Matt Hall of Australia and Yoshida Miroya on screen go through to the round of 4, looking for victory in round 2 of the Red Bull Air Race World Championship. Well, so many of the experienced pilots in the masterclass of the Red Bull Air Race World Championship really know how to time their performances throughout the day in this World Championship competition, and we've just seen a classic example of that from Yoshi Muroya, getting the better of Brajot by 1.120 seconds. And it's a similar story for Matt Hall. He had a slightly easier task of getting ahead of McLeod, who'd put down 5 seconds of penalties, but Matt Hall knows how to build his performance as the race unfolds.
Matt, a personal best, is that an indication that you're peaking at the right time?
Yeah, probably. I know where the fast line is, and I went for it on that run. I had to against Pete, but there was a few minor points that I know that I could have flown better. So we'll go out there and try and improve on that as well. You know, Yoshi's running fast, so I've got to go for the win.
And in terms of how good you're feeling with the plane, which you've changed so much, 11 kilograms lighter, how good is that all happening for you now?
Yeah, it's good. You know, it's only about 2 kilos lighter in the end. So, but it's the feel that's very important to us. So, it's feeling like it's part of me again, and I'm happy to push the plane at low level.
Keep going.
Thanks, mate.
Australia's finest. Matt Hall looking very confident. Paul, you mentioned this earlier today in our round of 14 show. He said feeling of the plane, and it's making all the difference to Matt right now.
That's right, an aeroplane needs to have its centre of gravity in the right place, and if you move that centre of gravity, you know, people put batteries in the back, or if you put fuel in the front, you can change the centre of gravity. That will determine how the aeroplane flies, and most importantly, how it pitches. That's when you move the nose of the stick. You pull the stick back, the nose will go up, if you like. All the very, very important aspect in the vertical turning manoeuvres. And if that doesn't feel right, it's very difficult to judge it correctly. He was having problems in Abu Dhabi, but clearly he's back on track with the feel of the aircraft's elevator.
Well, friends, family, mum and dad are here to support Juan Velodev, Spain, who's up in the next heat against the former world champion Matthias Doldra of Germany. This promises to be a very interesting clash. Velodev held the track record here for Friday and Saturday morning, and Doldra, of course, is a former world champion from the 2016 season. It really is a battle of Europe's finest as we look forward to Heat 10 in these beautiful conditions here in Cannes. Once again, the wind has died down. We race from the old port towards the old port and back to the Porto Piercanto. It really has proved to be a huge success, and with 83,500 fans watching the competition from Friday to today, it can only be perceived as another huge success. We've landed in France, and we've landed in style. It really has been a great turnout. There is Mika back at the race airport. He's put on a brave show, really has done exceptionally well. We forget that he's the youngest pilot in the masterclass, 30 years of age, Paul.
No, fantastic, and his experience is very good, isn't it? You know, we said yesterday, old head on young shoulders. He flies very, very maturely, and I think he will be a force to be reckoned with in the future.
Red Bull Air Race World Championship, round 2 in Cannes, France. Up next is Heat 10. It's the best of Europe. Spain against Germany. Velodev flies first against Matthias Doldra, 2016 Red Bull Air Race World Champion.
Juan Velodev, Spain. In the round of 8, I know which lines I have to follow. I'm going to fly very aggressive. I know it's not going to be easy, but I can beat Matthias.
Well, Velodev working very closely with his new sports psychologist, Manuel Rodriguez.
Cleared into the track, smoke on.
And his technician, Ted Reynolds, putting a brand new engine into this plane before the start of competition here in Cannes, France. Let's see if he can put all of that together and put down a performance and take out the 2016 world champion, Matthias Doldra. Very, very dynamic in his opening turns, Paul.
Yeah, good rhythm through the chicane. Just shy of level there, but I think it was within the of 10 degrees. Here comes the vertical turn, 11G. Now, oh, and he's gone a little bit left there. He has to be careful that he doesn't go near that safety line as he descends back to finish the first lap.
It's a good time, 30 spot 439. He's right where he needs to be. He's definitely pushing it as much as he dare within the rules.
He really is going for this, isn't it? Very, very precise flying, and it's exactly what you need to do there. Perfectly level. The last vertical turn maneuver now, he's got to be really careful not to get carried away. That's good. 10.9G should post a very good time.
He's looking to go under 58 seconds. That's the target for Velarde. Mission accomplished, but it's under review from the race tower.
Stand by, under review.
Oh, they've given him 1 second.
26 Velarde, 58.886 seconds. That includes a 1 second penalty for incorrect vertical turning maneuver on gate number 8.
Oh, and he's not happy with that, and you can understand why.
No, and we saw that. I think I mentioned it at the time. There was just a hint of left hand down a bit. The rule states at gate 8 you have to pull up and stay straight. So stay exactly straight until you're through the vertical, then you can turn. So there, look at that left wing. He started rolling left there with about, I'd probably guess, 50 degrees of pitch. The nose was 50 degrees above the horizon. That is a technical infraction, and hence the 1 second penalty for an incorrect vertical turning maneuver. Why is that rule there? It's to keep people away from the safety line. It's to keep the aeroplanes away from the spectators and the fans. And that's that 1 second penalty. So that will be, and there's the just shy of 10 degrees I was talking about in gate 6. A good tactic, I must say. I think that's a very good tactic, but not to be.
Next up is Matthias Doldre.
Matthias Dolderer, Germany. Now it's all about flying clean and fast, and don't do any mistakes, and have fun out there, and then we'll proceed to the final 4.
Number 21 Dolderer, you're cleared into the track. Smoke on.
Well, Doldre knows that he's got a second in hand here over Velarde. And that could really help the German out here in his quest to get into the round of 4. Let's not forget that Doldre came away with the opening round of the season with 0 points, an over G and a DNF, right at the bottom of the table in 13th position after winning qualifying in Abu Dhabi. And he's comfortably ahead at the first split time interval. The light is green, and it looks like it'll stay that way, Paul.
And the good news for Matthias Doldre and the German fans is it's looking precise. Sometimes we've seen Matthias get a little bit ragged, but it's looking precise, and it's looking quite digital, actually. Look just shy of the level point there as he went through that level gate. And here we go to the all-important last vertical turning maneuver. He's got to be very careful of the G here. Look at that, very, very conservative indeed.
Target time is 58.886, and Doldre, for the first time in the 2018 season, goes to the final 4.
Number 21 Dolderer, 57.950 seconds. No penalties. Congratulations, you won your heat and you're going to the final 4.
Well, for the German pilot, he knew he needed to get his season back on track here today. A little bit of a helping hand due to the penalty from Velarde, but understandably, he's absolutely delighted with that performance, Paul.
We saw him fly like a robot in 2016, didn't we? He could do no wrong, and then last year, it was not to be, but he'll, as you say, Nick, be desperate to get back on track, and that was a very good performance. He knew he had a second in hand, but nevertheless, good, clean flying, very precise, and a 57.9, you know, that's very, very good. That's within 0.2 of Matt Hall. That's within 0.6 of a second of Yoshimura. He's in the right ballpark.
Next up is Heat 11 with the United States of America going against the Czech Republic. Michael Goulian has been the fastest for the past 48 hours. He just needs to do it 2 more times to take his second win of the season. Schonka's a tough opponent.
Martin Schonka, Czech Republic.
My tactics now is simply fly clean again and push a little harder, and I hope for a better time.
Shonka, you're cleared into the track. Smoke on.
It's important to point out here, Paul, that Shonka is yet to fly a sub-58 second round in this racetrack. He really does need to raise his game now we're in the round of 8 if he's to book himself a spot in the final 4.
Yeah, so far this week he's been flying very precisely and clean, but as you say, Nick, it's always been just slightly off the pace. We don't know why, and they haven't told us, but there's the vertical turning maneuver 11G. And he's descending very steeply. He's going to have a bit of a level segment to get to this gate, which is not the fastest line.
30.839 is the time at the end of lap 1 into the chicane for the second and final time here. Shonka desperately trying to tighten his lines, trying for more speed here. It'll all come down to the final vertical turning maneuver.
Here he goes, watch for the smoke bump just before the gate. That's good timing and a very tight vertical turning maneuver. Now a race for the home, see if he can get a sub 50, 58, not quite.
It's not there again for Shonka, frustrating.
Number 8, Shonka, 58.218 seconds, no penalties.
Well, you can see the look from the cockpit cam on the Czech pilot's face, and the same from his team back at the race hangar. It's good, but is that good enough to beat Mikey Goulian, Paul?
That's an interesting point, isn't it? There's a great shot of Martin Shonka going around gate 5 there, and beautifully flown, but he's just not quite off the pace. I know they've been talking about new cylinders for the engine. Maybe that's a factor. Maybe it's an engine setting factor. But don't forget, though, Mike Goulian flew a 57.875 in the round of 14. So Mike Goulian is only 0.4 of a second ahead on paper today. So the pressure is now on Mike Goulian.
Michael Goulian, USA. To get into the final 4, you have to turn it up a notch. The round of 14 was fine, better vertical turns, tighter on the chicane, and we should get there.
Number 99, Goulian, you're cleared into the track. Smoke on.
Now Goulian talks of turning it up a notch. We don't want him to turn it up too much. The winner of the opening round of the Ribble Air Race World Championship in February in Abu Dhabi looked brilliant in the round of 14. So confident to win qualifying yesterday. But this is the moment that Goulian needs to show us that he has the potential to become a world champion. It's not just one race every 9 years. It's one race every month if he wants to win the championship.
And there's his vertical turning maneuver. That looks good. Can he accelerate on this downline? Yes, look at that. I said earlier, Martin Shonka seemed to descend a bit early. And that's where Mike Goulian picked up that time.
Goulian gets the green light at the end of lap 1. Now he's just got to keep this momentum going. And the American championship leader will be into the final 4 for the second time this season. The green light is bigger and better for the American pilot. Up he goes. Vertical turn maneuver for the second time of asking. Now it is full throttle for the Hamilton finish gate, and Goulian is missed it. Oh no! Where did that time go? Nightmare for Goulian. Celebration for Shonka.
Number 99, Goulian, 58.465 seconds. No penalties, but that puts you in second place for your heat.
99, Roger.
So I'll tell you where that went wrong. That was the last vertical turning maneuver. His first VTM was very precise, just a little bit quicker than Martin Shonka's, and it was on rails, absolutely on rails, and that second VTM was just slightly too slow. He lost, I'd say, 4 to 5 tenths of a second just in that last one maneuver. The second VTM is where you can really get round there. Obviously, he wants to be careful of the over-G. Maybe he was being too conservative, but he could have, flying phrase, he could have pulled the wings off that VTM. And look at that, he just goes a bit wide at the top. And the ghost plane of Martin Shonka says, thank you very much. We'll have that win, Mike Goulian.
The big upset of the round of 8 is that Martin Shonka has knocked the current world champion out of the competition. The Czech Republic go through, the USA go out. Well, no shortage of drama whatsoever in that round of 8. Mikey Goulian of the United States of America, fastest in the round of 14, setting the track record 24 hours ago in the qualification round, finds himself beaten by Martin Schonker by a small error on the second vertical turn maneuver. Here is the result of the round of 8. Matt Hall, the fastest out there in this round, ahead of Maroya, Doldra and Schonker. They are the 4 that go through to the final flight of the day. Big surprise to say goodbye to Goulian of the USA. Brajot of France also goes out of the competition. Well, it can turn so quickly. But with Matt Hall and Maroya flying the fastest there, we now look for our winner of the day, Paul. And it's difficult to get away from Australia or Japan, I'd say.
I think so, but don't forget we also have Germany and the Czech Republic. Matthias Doldra will want to get his year back on track, and same with Martin Schonker. You know, Martin Schonker has been about a second off the pace. So if you were looking to make a prediction, as you say, Nick, I agree. Australia or Japan, possibly Germany. But as we've seen before, it could be Martin Schonker as well, but they've all got to fly clean.
Let's go through them one at a time, Paul. Matt Hall of Australia finally gets the plane the way he wants it, but it has been 2 seasons since he's won. Not since 2016 has Matt Hall won a race.
Exactly, Yoshi Maroya, he can soak up the pressure. We've seen his amazing ability to ignore the distraction of the sort of psychological pressure. Matthias Doldra, you know, he's been flying smoothly today, and that's really good to see. Quite digital, it's a digital style, but it's clean. And then, of course, Martin Schonker, you know, he'll really need to get those engine settings absolutely spot on to be a challenge to those other 3 really quick guys.
And there's a golden opportunity here, Paul, for Yoshi Maroya to take back the lead in the World Championship standings. Maroya, of course, who was runner-up to Goulian in Abu Dhabi, took 12 points there. A podium performance in this Final 4 in Cannes today will put the Japanese defending champion back to the top of the championship standings once again.
Exactly, and this season is it's 8 races, so you can't really afford to duff one up.
Oh, we haven't seen you guys for a while.
And as we said before, you know, Nigel Lamb won the championship just by staying on or near the podium. That's what's important.
Let's go down to the race airport with our reporter Jonathan Ledyard, who's chatting to Germany's hopes of victory today. That is, of course, the 2016 Red Bull Air Race World Champion, Matthias Doldra.
What sort of mood? How confident are you can really nail it and get on the podium or even top step?
I don't think about winning. I just think about doing another clean run. I didn't have to get the maximum now again because Juan made a mistake. So just fly as fast as I can, and then I will see for what it's enough.
Go well.
Thank you.
That, I think, is good psychology for Matthias Doldra, and I've tried to do that to myself in the past. You can't win by taking aggression or punching us into the cockpit. You have to fly precisely. So exactly as Matthias said there, if you just concentrate on flying the right trajectory precisely and let the clock take care of itself.
Beautiful shot from our Cineflex camera there of the Porto Canto, and at the other side, the Old Port. Every spot on the beach has been taken up here. 83,500 spectators watching the Red Bull Air Race over the past 3 days as we now come down to the last round and the last 4 flights of the day. Final 4 in Cannes, round 2 of the Red Bull Air Race World Championship. Japan, Australia, Czech Republic and Germany. The 4 nations in action here to wrap up this amazing competition. Matt Hall, who will fly first. Then we'll see Maroya of Japan. Then the best of Europe, Doldra and Schonker to wrap up proceedings.
Number 95 Hall, you're cleared into the track. Smoke on.
Now, Matt Hall, who came away with a 5th position in the opening round of the World Championship season, looking for his first win on the air race since Lausitz in 2016. But Matt Hall, who's worked so hard to get the balance of this plane right, now needs to try and put down an electrifying time to put the pressure on the 3 pilots who fly immediately after him.
Yeah, he's got to just calm himself down here. He went a little bit wide around that first chicane gate. Good pull there. Look, I love this technique, allowing the nose to drop as he descends towards this descent gate. And that's a very good time at the halfway point. This is Matt Hall on fire. And he's got the beauty here, Nick, of flying first. There's no pressure on Matt. All he hasn't heard any spectacular times. He's just got to fly cleanly, and that's exactly what he's doing at the moment.
Now the Australian comes into his 2nd vertical turning manoeuvre. This really has been his calling card throughout this competition here. Smooth and clean with the half Cuban roll out. Now for the Hamilton finish gate, and that is lovely time. Oh, he's right on the mark. Australia put the pressure on the rest of the world.
Number 95 Hall, 57.692 seconds, no penalties. Currently holds you in 1st place.
Well, only in qualifying has Matt Hall flown faster than that. That's his 2nd best time of the week here in Cannes. And as you said earlier, Paul, that really is taking full advantage of flying first. That puts the pressure on the other 3.
Just remember, Mike Goulian flew first in the round of 4 in Abu Dhabi. It's nice because you haven't heard a 56 something or a 57 dead, and you don't go into the track with that aggression that I've talked about. You don't go in tensed up going, I've got to go fast, I've got to go fast. You can go in with a relaxed flying arm and just fly precisely. It's down to the next guys now to absorb that pressure and try and do the same. Fly with a relaxed flying arm, but fly very precisely.
RTB for Matt Hall, return to base. Japan are next, and Yoshi Miroya has a following across the globe. Wherever he flies, they come to see him in action. Miroya, perhaps one of the coolest customers of the Red Bull Air Race World Championship. 4 out of 8 wins on the Red Bull Air Race World Championship last season. He's out there today looking for his first win of the 2018 Tour in defence of that championship that he won. There's Rob Fry, here's at TC. Peter Gauthier, Benjamin Freelove, everybody watching carefully here now as Miroya, runner-up to Goulian in Abu Dhabi, is out there searching for his first win of the season. Entry speed, wants it at 200 knots.
31 Miroya cleared into the track, smoke on.
Picks it up a little coming into the first gate where the clock will start timing the performance.
And this is where, Nick, all those training flights are so important to practice being consistent. This is where Yoshi needs to pull out of the hat that consistency we've seen him do before. He flew a, what did he fly? 57.3 in the round of 8. It's got to be the same here. And look at that. Absolutely lightning fast. He mustn't go left. Where's he gone now? He's gone off on a very strange heading there.
He's got the green light, but you called it perfectly, Paul. Not quite sure of the efficiency of that first vertical turn manoeuvre. Oh, and it's an incorrect level on gate 8. 2 seconds of penalty for Miroya. Surely that puts pay to his podium chances here today. Certainly the victory is now beyond the Japanese pilot.
That is tragic for Yoshi Miroya, and there we are. And look, he's correcting the errors, put him out of sorts. Something put him out of sorts on the entry to that gate. He got the incorrect level, and then he made a mess of the heading at the top of that first vertical turn.
Matt Hall still leads for Australia.
Number 31 Miroya, 1 minute, 0.261 seconds. That includes a 2-second penalty for incorrect level flying on gate number 8, and that currently holds you in 2nd place.
Okay, thank you.
Now, 2nd place here for Yoshi, but the breaking news is that there's been an RPM infringement for Martin Schonker. These are the live pictures back at the race airport, and that means Schonker is out of the competition and Goulian is now into the final 4 round. Paul, tell us more on this RPM issue that has put pay to the Czech Republic's chances of a victory today.
So the engines are allowed to run at 2,950 RPM. If you go over that, it's all recorded, by the way. All the RPMs, all the engine data is sent live via telemetry to the timing guys here in the race control. And I think we're going to go over to the race airport now. I think Jonathan Ledyard is going to ask Martin Schonker what has been going on regarding the RPM.
What happened?
I don't know. I heard that we had like 2 seconds more than the limit is over the maximum RPM. So that what happens. Like.
So you're out of the race?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm very okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's another one you got to rebuild.
Yeah.
Well, understandably, Martin's absolutely devastated there. Paul, here's Maroya making his errors here, and those were clear. You spotted them almost before he made them.
Yeah, he got into... He did it on both runs. He approached gate 8, or the gate before the vertical turning manoeuvre. It looked like he got the wrong heading. He then had a late correction to the left to get into the gate, and that put him out of sorts. He then was rolling in the gate, arguably also pulling early in the gate. And on the first vertical turning manoeuvre, it really upset his balance because he went over the top of the VTM. He ended up pointing virtually out to the west of the track and then had to correct to come back, which is why we saw him go from 1/10 of a second fast to 7/10 of a second slow.
Now, this is Matthias Doldra. All kinds of drama unfolding here. But I can confirm that due to an over-RPM infringement from Martin Schonker, he is out. And now Michael Goulian has been replaced as the 4th pilot.
Number 21 Doldra cleared into the track.
On the German team. Laura Zick, Kai Frommelt, Andy Chiavetta watching on. Doldra's turn to play his part here. He's ahead of the ghost plane of our current leader, Matt Hall. He's in the chicane for the first time. 2 very different racing lines from the German and the Australian pilot, but it looks like Doldra is currently out on top.
It does, doesn't it? Look at that, 2/10 of a second up the vertical turn. He's got to really stay calm here. Look at that, very conservative. I'm wondering if that's a little bit too conservative from the German pilot. He's trying to avoid the OVG, but it looks like, well, amazing. On the way down, I think he overtook. We could see him overtake Matt on this lap, but the vertical turning manoeuvre was too conservative the first time round.
It's very close, isn't it, Paul? The German needs to find just 0.02 of a second to get that green light back, and he's got it back. Now he's over 2/10, the right side of the clock here. Doldra now up for the last vertical turn manoeuvre. He's got a little bit of time advantage to play with, but it is the 2016 world champion, Doldra. He's missed it. Oh! Again, too conservative on the final VTM allows Matt Hall to hold on to top spot.
57.764 seconds, no penalties, and that currently holds you in 2nd place.
Understandably, celebrations from Doldra. He's on the podium for the first time this season. But it is Matt Hall who has to watch just one pilot now to see whether he has taken the win. Paul, where did Doldra lose that time? He looked to be home, safe and sound, coming out of that final VTM.
He did both of his vertical turns, I think, were too conservative. Don't forget, he had an over-G in Abu Dhabi. That will play on your mind. You know, as we've said before, that takes a couple of races to get out of your system. He was being very good, very disciplined with the pull-ups, but I think he just allowed it to play it a little bit safe. For certain, on the 2nd VTM, you're not interested in your speed after the descent gate, because that's the end of the run. You can pull as hard as you can around there, as long as you're within the G limits, and then that's where you need to go really, really tight to get back to the finish gate. And Matthias just let it out a little bit too much, and hence Matt Hall is still in the lead.
Let's go down to the race airport and hear from Jonathan Ledyard talking to Michael Goulian, who will be the next pilot racing into the track.
Mike, how do you readjust? Because once you're out, now you're in. How do you get ready?
Yeah, you just have to calm your mind and get in the airplane and take one step at a time and see how it rolls.
Be good.
Thank you.
Goulian at the last minute put back into the competition due to the over RPM. Paul, give us another note on what RPM actually means and why it's such an important rule.
So the engines rev at 2,700, 2,800, 2,900 RPM. That's and some teams have different opinions of where you get the best power. You can't go over 2,950 because you're going to sooner or later damage the engine. So there's very strict rules on staying under a certain RPM. All of that is measured, sent to the race tower, and if you go over for a certain length of time, you get penalised. And in this case, you're deemed to be running with an unfair advantage because you're trying to get too much RPM. Now, arguably, the propellers don't work above a certain RPM because the tips go supersonic and you lose thrust. But it's the basic rule is to keep the engine safe, but everybody has to do the same thing. And of course, RPM, revs per minute, is the speed that the engine goes around. And for those of you who know about car revs per minute, RPM, these engines are quite slow revving. They've got huge, great big pistons and cylinders, 540 cubic inches. So they're big engines, but they do rev relatively slowly.
So, before we see the performance from Mike Goulian, let's have a quick interview from our race reporter, Jonathan Ledyard, with the current leader from Australia, Matt Hall. Jonathan, down to you.
So, Matt, what are your emotions at the moment? Up, down, middle, calm, wildly excited?
Pretty relaxed, actually. It's good to just be on a solid second at least. It'd be lovely to get first. I haven't had a first place for in an Edge yet, so if it's the first time I get a first place in the first race in France in Cannes, it's not a bad little thing to be able to achieve. But second, regardless, we're just super stoked.
What would you be like? What would you be feeling if you were Mike Goulian now? You're out of the round of 8, then suddenly you're into the final 4. You've got to get yourself together, go out there, and you're the last to fly, knowing you could win. What sort of pressure is that like?
It depends how you can compartmentalise. You've really just got to be able to go, you know what, it's a freebie. So you just clear your head and go, worst case scenario, I come fourth and I was in 5th, so let's just go for it. So he's actually going to have a really good run, is my gut feel. He's going to just be in the zone because he's got nothing else to lose.
And what do you like watching now?
What's that, sorry?
What do you like watching? You're going to be going, it doesn't matter. You want to win, come on.
Oh, for sure, I want to win. So, but there's nothing I can do about it, so I don't need to actually be nervous because he's just going to do what he does and we'll just see what happens. But it's going to be a good podium regardless.
We may talk again or we may not. Have fun.
Thanks, mate.
Great words there from Matt Hall. A true sportsmanship as well. He knows, he said it himself, no matter what the outcome is, he's had a fantastic day in the office. He gets better, faster and more confident with this new Edge 540 version 3 than ever before.
And as we've said earlier today, he's now really pleased that the centre of gravity, the aeroplane, the feel of the elevator when you pull back, that feel and how you get to the 10G, he's clearly happier in it. We've seen much, much better consistency from Matt Hall now that he's got the weight right. So, it's great to see. And I must admit, for the Australian fans, they're going to be keeping their fingers crossed that this little delay and reset for Mike Goulian is going to put Mike Goulian off his mood, if you like, but not those guys there. They're going to want him to win.
And for the American fans, they are now on the edge of their seats, ready to scream at Goulian all the way home. There has been a little bit of lady luck for Michael Goulian due to a disqualification of Martin Schonker. He gets another chance to take his second victory of the season. Let's not forget that Goulian comes into round 2 here in Cannes, France, of the Red Bull Air Race World Championship at the top of the championship standings. He had a brilliant win in Abu Dhabi back in February, taking the maximum 15 points for the season opener. Now, here's a second chance to try and make it 2 from 2. He booked the track record. There it is in qualifying. 57.073. His target time to beat here right now is 57.692. What I'm trying to get at, Paul, he's already beaten that time of Matt Hall. He's actually beaten it twice before. but can he refocus, having almost started packing his suitcase?
And exactly that. This is a very different test to the one that he had in Abu Dhabi. There's their respective wives, Karen Goulian on the left there and Perdita Hall on the right of the centre of the shot. Yeah, Mike Goulian in Abu Dhabi, don't forget, he entered the final four first. He had no pressure whatsoever. He's now had to do a reset. He was probably going to go and take his flying suit off. Now he's put it back on. He's in the air again. Has he reset in time? And he clearly knows that he's got to beat a pretty good time of 57.6 to beat Matt Hall.
So Team 99 with a second chance of winning this spectacular race over the Mediterranean Sea here in the Côte d'Azur region of France. Now Goulian, if he can perform the way he did in yesterday's qualifying, this would be quite a dramatic story, but it could be a very important victory for the USA in the chase for the title.
Number 99 Goulian, you're cleared into the track. Smoke on.
Into gate one for Goulian. The time starts ticking away. He's just shy of 200 knots, just shy of 230 miles per hour entry speed. Chicane for the first time, getting a very nice line, a good tempo. Goulian is looking confident.
It looks very smooth, doesn't it? It does not look like he's been rushed back into that aeroplane. And oh so close for the time. Let's watch this vertical turn, 11.7 G. Very close to the 12 limit, but looks good. And a bit of a sort of early descent there. Slightly off the pace, isn't it, Matt?
He's over a 10th, Paul, off the pace. He needs to find a little more speed, but this was the tactic that he played in qualifying. Built up all of the speed and energy on lap 2 rather than lap 1. Now, 2.2 off the pace, and Goulian needs something really quite special to seal this right now. Matt Hall watches on. Will Australia take the win, or will the USA come back as Goulian goes for the line? And he's missed it. Australia win round 2. Matt Hall celebrates.
Number 99 Goulian, 58.083 seconds, no penalties, and that puts you in third place for our Cannes race.
What a day for Matt Hall. Michael Goulian doing exceptionally well to get back into the race when he thought his day was over. But third position for the American will keep him at the top of the championship standings. And perhaps that is the tactic now for Mikey Goulian each time he gets to the final four.
That was very, very good, you know, to land and then think I've got to pack up and go home and then be told you're racing again because of a technical infraction. A good reset from Mike Goulian, and let's face it, 0.4 of a second off the winner there. That's pretty close racing. So excellent effort by Mike Goulian. He'll be on the podium, which, as you say, Nick, is where you need to be, somewhere near the podium. But what a thought for Matt Hall. And do you remember who I said I thought might win this race this weekend? Do you remember that?
It's funny, isn't it? But the world champions still get it right, even though they're not racing in the competition. Matt Hall, I can confirm, has taken 15 points and the win here in Cannes, France. Doldra, with his best result of the season, is in second spot. And Goulian salvages that third position after quite a dramatic finale to round 2 of the Red Bull Air Race World Championship. Let's go back to the race airport and hear from the Australian champion here in France.
Matt Hall, you got a fan club behind you, but how good does this feel? You are a winner again in the Red Bull Air Race World Championship.
Yeah, it's good. It's you know, I said the first time I did it in the MXS, it's a monkey off my back. This is another monkey that's been hanging on. You know, it's been a long, hard transition onto the edge with our team. You know, I feel like I just won the race for Ron. You know, he's up there watching over us. So yeah, it's a bit emotional because to be back on it and with so many changes over the last year or so. The team is awesome. New team, new plane, and the sponsor, and it feels awesome.
You lost Ron Simard, your former technician. Now you got Dave Finch, just to put that into context. And in terms of where you are now with the plane and yourself, are you now ready to be a World Championship contender? You feel you got this plane exactly where you want it?
Yeah, we finished over in America at post-season training with Ron, and we finished that up going, you know, we're set for World Championship, and then yeah, all hell broke loose. So the team now is just as strong, and the plane is just as strong as it was back then. So yes, we're ready to be world champion.
One other thought: how does this win compare with this new plane compared to, say, the first win ever? Is it like a new beginning almost?
It is. The win with the MXS was something that was on the edge, like right up there, and it just tipped over the line. It's been a very steep gradient we've needed to climb with the edge. Because, you know, you buy an edge out of the factory, it's a brilliant plane, but you've got to then make it fast. So we were starting with a rookie team effectively and a rookie plane, and we had to take that package and make it fast. So it's been a very strong and hard climb, you know, and it's pretty cool to make it onto first place, you know, with just 1 year of, you know, the plane's only 1 year old, so that's pretty cool.
Enjoy the moment in Cannes.
Thanks.
Well, some quite emotional words there, particularly referring to Ron Simard, Matt Hall's technician last season, who sadly passed away before the start of the 2018 Tour. And also, Paul, his first win in an Edge 540 version 3, because they're very different race planes, aren't they? The MXSR and the Edge, which Matt flies right now. As there is the confirmation of the result: Hall, Doldra, Goulian and Maroya taking fourth position. Pull back to that difference of the planes.
Yeah, aeroplanes all have their own character. Even if you take, you know, 10 Edge 540s, they'll all be slightly different. But when you then go from an MXS, which is a completely different manufacturer, a different style of construction, to an Edge, it's going to take time. And Matt was on track until he had sort of center of gravity issues for various reasons. But it's clear that he's back on track now.
And I think that will send a little bit of a warning to the rest of the world and the other 13 pilots, because Matt Hall is one of those pilots, when he finds his rhythm, he gets in the groove, he can become a very consistent competitor, and we know that is the key to success on the Red Bull Air Race World Championship. Let's talk a little bit about Mikey Goulian. Well, I think this is a fantastic salvage for Mike. He didn't expect to be in the final four. They were already starting to pack up in his race hangar, only to get that call to come out and race. So for the win, Matt Hall takes 15 World Championship points. The Doldra's first score of the season is 12, but Goulian adds 9 to the 15 that he picked up in the opener in Abu Dhabi to go top of the championship standings, with Maroya also picking up valuable points. Ben Murphy did very well, the rookie from Great Britain, to salvage 1 championship point here today in 10th position. Michael Goulian just weighing in here to make sure that everything's within the rules and regulations. Well, this weekend here over the French Riviera has been quite spectacular from start to finish, and has lived up to all of its expectation. But the American fans are still smiling here in Cannes. Goulian, 3 clear of Matt Hall. Maroya, the defending champion, is third. Doldra is in fourth, and Martin Schonker is in 5th position. But it's Mikey Goulian of the United States of America who heads to Japan, Chiba, Japan, for round 3 of the Tour as our championship leader. It has been a remarkable race here in Cannes, living up to its billing from day to day. From Nick Fellows and Paul Bonham, many thanks for your company. We look forward to joining you in Japan. It's goodbye for now. Well, great work from Goulian. The team absolutely delighted. Disappointment, it must be said, for Team Schonker. A little bit of controversy for Schonker, being moved from 3rd to 4th position in Abu Dhabi, and again issues with the plane, this time the RPM here in Cannes, France.
Yes, the RPM is a pilot-controlled thing. Some teams have special monitors and controls to control that RPM. It's a beautiful shot of the Patrie de France, the French Army de l'Air aerobatic team. Look at that for formation flying. Even Jones, you know, I would enjoy that, wouldn't we? But that beautiful sight here in the sunshine of Cannes. But going back to the RPM issue, yeah, the pilots control that. They would set that up before their run. Some teams have clever bits of kit to monitor the RPM, to keep the RPM at the optimum amount for the race. As you pull G, the RPM will want to drop a bit, and the automatic, what they call constant speed unit, to keep the propeller going at the same speed might sometimes be a bit slow. So some teams have special bits of kit to make that work better. It may be that's what's happened with Martin Schonker's bit of kit. Maybe he had a technical issue there, or maybe he just misset it. We'll have to find out.
Look at these spectacular pictures of the Patrouille de France, the French jet display team here.
Sur la gauche, le capitaine Bertrand Tardif, il est en troisième année, alors je pense quatrième même, puis ils ont fait l'équipe pour la tournée US 30 l'an dernier. Eh bien, il est l'extrême gauche avec la fumée rouge, alors qu'ils viennent de reculer en formation canard. Eh bien, la patrouille va revenir dans quelques instants.
I think Mike Goulian will be very pleased to be on the podium, you know, after going back from the round of 8 and thinking that he'd finished for the day, to now be on the podium. You know, yes, he'll have wanted to have won the race, but I think, bearing in mind half an hour ago, he was out in the round of 8 with not a particularly fast time, so he would have been down the rankings a bit. To be in third place now, I think he should be very, very pleased.
No, absolutely. It means that he holds on to the lead in the World Championship standing, and it's also a drill that he will be much better at it if it should happen again. Something that pilots don't prepare for, such a short or quick turnaround. And I totally agree, Paul. I think Goulian must be absolutely delighted to have turned it all around, got back in the aeroplane, kept his calm, kept his focus, recorded third position. And of course, a very valuable point score indeed.
Magnifique de les voir passer et de dérouler comme ça dans le ciel. Nos couleurs tricolores, nos valeurs, c'est tout simplement l'association. Regardez, alors que actuellement les extérieurs remontent en diamant pendant que le Charognard a reculé pour former la formation Losange. Je vous le disais donc qu'ils restent en vue, vous pouvez les voir sur l'horizon. Eh bien, cette patrouille, elle est l'illustration de cette excellence française. Et là, on voit bien le lien entre la précision et la mentalité.
Matthias Dolder as well, absolutely delighted to get back to his podium ways. It means that his championship can start to take shape now after the DNF in Abu Dhabi, our season opener.
Voilà un quatrième essai de la patrouille 2018. Cette fois-ci, c'est en formation Losange.
Well, David Lisnard will be presenting the awards, the Mayor of Cannes. And he must be very proud right now, because Cannes has been a truly a spectacular venue and host. It's been such a successful race, Paul, in so many ways. A racetrack that has the pilots so close together, 85,000 plus spectators. And it really has been everything that it was built to be here. The Red Bull Air Race, first ever competition in France.
Absolutely fantastic, and you know, not before time. And as you say, Nick, look at that, that's the water sparkling there in front of us, the mountains in the distance. Have we seen a cloud all week? I think there might have been a cloud in the distance, but it's been just stunning weather conditions. We've been beautifully looked after by the people here in Cannes, and here is now the start of the award ceremony.
So Mike Goulian,
in second place,
fifth podium of his career, in third position for Doldra. Well, it's actually his first point score of the 2018 season. So important for the German to be on the podium today. And Matt Hall, here in Cannes, France today, records his fifth career victory.
Of Australia. trophies will be presented by Monsieur David Lisnard, the Mayor of Cannes. And the first place trophy will be presented to Matt Hall.
Mayor David Lesnar presents Matt Hall with the winner's trophy.
The second place trophy presented to Matthias Dolderer.
Dolderer will be so pleased to pick up 12 championship points here today. A 0-point score after this competition could have potentially put Dolderer out of the championship chase. And Goulian winning Abu Dhabi, third here in Cannes. Amidst dramatic circumstances, will be absolutely delighted to keep top position in the early championship standings.
Les pilotes, congratulations, and now la champagne! It's a beautiful day.
I think Matt Hall has got a very good technique there of smashing the bottle on the floor before sticking his thumb in the end. But no, for Matt Hall, that is a stunning result. For the Australian fans, stunning. You know, as you know, Nick, I had my battles with Matt Hall on the racetrack, and I know he can be quick, and you know, he's back on form. I think we're going to see Matt Hall on the podium a lot more this season.
And having his wife Perdita and son Mitchell here will make this such a very special day. Round 3 of the Red Bull Air Race World Championship. Cannes will be remembered for a dramatic race. Cannes will be remembered for one of the most beautiful backdrops and race conditions that we have experienced in a long time. But it is the Australian Matt Hall who will remember this more than anybody else. His first victory in his new Edge 540 version 3, his first victory in over 2 seasons. Matt Hall is the champion over the French Riviera. From Nick Fellows and from Paul Bonham, many thanks for your company. Until Japan, it's goodbye for now.